Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, April 11th, 2023. It is 8:57 in the morning. Okay, this is part 11, Theodore Rex Prologue. A strange hothouse glow-filled Ansley Wilcox's green library as Roosevelt entered it alone. From now on, he would have to get used to deference wherever he crossed a threshold. The luminescence came from a stained glass window fringed with sunny ivy. He chose this bright spot for himself and watched the cabinet officers filing in. Cortelyou arranged them in arcs to left and right, while a federal judge, John R. Hazel, stood in the center of the room. Loeb, acting as doorman, admitted a selection of local dignitaries. Among them, Roosevelt recognized Senator Chauncey Depew, R. New York, looking humble for once, doubtless regretting how he used to tease Teddy about wanting to be president. Next, Loeb beckoned in representatives of the three press agents, and in a final relaxation of properties, a small party of women. Some constitutional documents were given to Judge Hazel, who shuffled them into order. Roosevelt gazed around the library. A glint in his spectacles betrayed displeasure. Loeb came up inquiringly, and there was a whispered conversation in which the words newspaperman and sufficient room were audible. Hurrying aside, Loeb returned with 24 delighted scribes. They proceeded to report the subsequent ceremony with a wealth of detail unmatched in the history of presidential inaugurations. The library clock struck 3:30. Elihu Root muttered something urgent to Roosevelt, then took up his position. There was a moment of extreme quietness, broken only by the chirp of a sparrow in the window. Roosevelt half-turned and gazed almost yearningly through the glass. A boy trapped in school. Root's voice reclaimed his attention. "Mr. Vice President, The Secretary of War choked, sobbed, and for a full minute struggled to control himself. Roosevelt's face was stern, but as the suspense mounted, his cheek muscles began to twitch, and his right foot pawed the floor. At last, Root managed to continue. "I have been asked, on behalf of the cabinet of the late president, to request that, for reason of weight affecting the administration of the government, you should proceed to take the constitutional office of the President of the United States." Roosevelt bowed, cleared his throat, and said waveringly, "I shall take the oath at once." He, too, seemed to be fighting tears, but his voice grew rapidly stronger. "And in this hour of deep and terrible national bereavement, I wish to state that it shall be my aim." Here he shook his shoulders and pulled back his head. "To continue absolutely unbroken the policy of President McKinley for the peace, the prosperity, and the honor of our beloved country." This speech, the shortest inaugural anybody could remember, created a profound impression. It struck all present as pledge, platform, and policy all in one. Roosevelt spoke with characteristics, passion, punctuating his words with gentle snaps as if biting the syllables out of the air. He seemed to vibrate with force, sincerity, and reverence for the memory of his predecessor. To one observer, he symbolized the magnificent morale and mental balance of the nation. His statement instantly solved the political and commercial crisis. Finance, in the person of John G. Milburn, grew calm. Industry, in the person of Chauncey Depew, was comforted. And government, in the persons of the cabinet officers, breathed a collective sigh of relief. Roosevelt was to receive worldwide praise for his few words, yet they were not original. Elihu Root had suggested pseudo-vos while the clock was chiming that he declare his intention to continue unbroken the policy of the President McKinley for the peace, prosperity, and honor of the country. Roosevelt's parrot memory had preserved the words intact. Judge Hazel clutched an inscribed parchment. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt's arm shot up, fully extended. Throughout the oath, his hand remained high and steady, as if carved from marble. His face was drawn and his eyes glittered. Depew was struck by the terrible earnestness with which he articulated every word. Yet even at this moment of ritual fidelity to the text of the Constitution, Roosevelt could not resist adding a personal flourish. And this I swear, he concluded, ejaculating the words like bullets. Then he bowed his head. 2 minutes ticked by, the room filled with an almost unbearable tension. Beads of sweat stood on Roosevelt's brow. Not until a 3rd minute elapsed did he look up. Mr. President, the judge said, holding out the certificate of oath, please attach your signature. Roosevelt's pen scratched across the parchment. 43 persons stood in thrall until he dismissed them with a kingly nod. They trooped out, dreamy-eyed, as from a perfect theatrical performance. I have witnessed many of the world's pageants in my time, Senator Depew said afterward. Fleets and armies, music and cannon, but they all seemed to me tawdry and insignificant in the presence of that little company in the library of the Wilcox House in Buffalo. Okay, so that's all for part 11. Prologue, Theodore Rex. Thank you for watching.